Welcome everybody to our WWE Backlash 2023 review. I'm your host Hunter Chambers. I'm my co-host Rob.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I just wanted to wait for a moment just to make sure I'm not frozen, but I'm good.
Yeah, I think I froze for a minute there. So yes, technical difficulties aside, yes, WWE Backlash 2023, not WrestleMania Backlash. Thank fucking God.
Yes, get rid of that title.
Yes, please. Was from San Juan, Puerto Rico last night. And first off, that crowd, man, was amazing. The entire weekend on SmackDown and last night on Backlash, they were so energetic and they were so vocal and they were so, hype. It made every match, even if it was a match I wasn't excited for, they made the matches bump up because of their involvement.
Exactly. And you can obviously tell this crowd was excited because one thing that has not been gone away since the Thunderdome era was the piped in crowd noises. And it's made things very difficult to tell whenever a wrestler does a promo or a match
Mhm.
happens if you can tell if the crowd's actually reacting or not. And when there is audio piped in crowd noises, you can tell, not just from the sound, but also from visual when they ever do those
Yep.
zoom in cuts to the crowd. But here, there was some definitely there's some the crowd was great, but the camera editing was a shit show. Honestly,
the the sweeping shots.
I miss the crane shots, honestly, and it's one of the issues I have when they like to do those long ramps because it's clear those sweeping shots look like they're trying to do more with drones. And while that
Yeah.
may be a nice thing, it doesn't beat the crane shots because then you do have more opportunities to get wider of the crowds. But
Mm.
that I mean, look, camera things is something you get. I'm not saying we should get used to it. We just gotta hope that with some changes happening with WWE, that they finally start getting some people behind the production booth who knows what they're doing. All
Yeah.
no and all disrespects to Kevin Dunn if he's still there, but Jesus Christ, man, you need to either find someone who knows how to work with this technology and can be able to make this shit work. Because every time it work happens, it looks like it's someone who is just starting on their first day.
Yeah. It didn't really bug me that much because I think they didn't really use the zooming
Oh
shots
no, yeah,
often.
not too much, no. But I'm just saying, when it sticks out, it sticks out.
Yeah, I think the weirdest looking one to me was Bad Bunny's entrance where they did it from the back. I actually like that little back shot because like you actually see Bad Bunny getting prepared for the
Yeah.
crowd reaction, and then he comes out. I think that was a really cool kind of zoom in shot. But when they kind of followed the wrestler down
Hmm.
the ramp, that looked weird because it was like a first person perspective type
Yeah, they
thing.
did that again with Seth Rollins and with Zelina Vega. When I'm
Mm.
like, those three are the prime examples of shots not to do that with. Because not only, I mean, we're gonna get more into talking about it, but pretty much just to say, if you just look at those, their three entrances, the crowd just singing to Seth Rollins' music,
So
and how all
good.
you needed was just a good wide shot and a couple of close-ups with Seth just soaking all of it in.
Hmm.
And then with Zelina, when she came out, decked, dressed to toes in the colors of the not only not only having the Puerto Rican flag a part of her outfit attire when she was coming out, but looking at her costume design and seeing the emotion on her face that she gets to perform in her home country.
Hmm.
That is even to someone that should be enough to realize you don't need all this extra fancy stuff or those 3D zooms. You just need simple camera work to really capture the moment to make it memorable. And that's one of the downsides is because when people start rewatching this stuff on YouTube, it's going to be even more and more prominent, which is why I think the camera work, whatever, when it comes to entrances, they need to really bring it down. They need, I mean, not too much, but they just need to bring it back to simplistic times when you had like during the time of the SmackDown 6, like the
Hmm.
old time of the original brand split, where they took advantage of really not only highlighting the wrestler but also highlighting the crowd whenever they were behind a certain wrestler.
Exactly. So let's open up with our very first contest, which was for the Raw Women's Championship as champion Bianca Belair takes on Io Sky. Funny enough, both competitors are heading to Raw. So no matter what
Well,
happens, we
SmackDown,
are
they're going to SmackDown.
SmackDown. I'm sorry. So yes, no matter what happens, we are getting a swap of the titles, which I don't like it, but whatever.
But that
um,
depends on what they're going to do on Raw because Triple H says it'll take effect. Maybe they'll do one last hurrah, but beyond that, yeah. As much as I love this pairing between the two of them, and Bianca and Io are fantastic competitors, the fact that both were going to SmackDown is pretty much there's really no stakes in this match except for just is Bianca going to extend her reign or is Io going to be the one to beat her?
yeah. So I actually had a thought going into this match that sorry about that. That Io was going to win, and then Bayley was going to turn on her, leading to Io versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title going forward. That would have been like a new, fresh rivalry. But this match went a total of 18 minutes, and this was a hot way to open up the show. Both of these, both Bianca and Io have really great in-ring chemistry. But the crowd was so behind Io in
Oh
this
yeah.
match that there was a point where I thought they were going to call an audible to get Bianca to drop the title because the crowd was so behind Io. And this was the first time that we actually saw the crowd kind of turn on Bianca a little bit too, because they were booing her at some points too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it was kind of like if this honestly this reminded their exchange back and forth reminded me of a lot of wrestlers that when both crowds are for them, sometimes the wrestler needs to change their style. Like
Mhm.
best example, Rock versus Hogan at WrestleMania 18, to where the
Rock
crowd
played
was
more aggressive.
well, not more aggressive, but he also reverted to some of his heel tactics. Or when
Hmm.
we saw AJ versus Demon Balor at that No Mercy when everyone had that when everyone
TLC.
TLC, yeah, TLC when everyone caught that meningitis, we
Hmm.
saw AJ and Finn had to change up their styles a little bit as well. We'll change up their personalities. But Finn relayed more into the demon while AJ I did see a little some shades of who he was in New Japan from that
Hmm.
match, seeing how the crowd was behind both of them. It just falls in that situation that when you have two wrestlers, either face or heel, when the crowd are behind them, there needs to be moments where, yeah, an audible needs to be called, but not on how a match should end, but on
Hmm.
how the wrestlers need to change their dynamics. And Bianca reacted very well to this by being more of a heel. Now, it definitely reminded me when she started off earlier in NXT when she was
Yeah.
a heel. And I do think maybe there could be a slight change to that when she's on SmackDown, but who knows? If the crowd reacts the same way to her during her time on SmackDown, we may see a more heel Bianca. But in this moment, she did a great job wrestling on the fly.
Yeah, and that's something that like Bianca is the type of character that can easily play both the heel and the face. Cause like there's some wrestlers like Miz who can really he's not a great face, but he's a really great heel. But
There's
like
no arguments
Bianca can
against
play
that.
both of them.
Yeah, there is no arguments against that. It's just like when it comes to certain wrestlers like the Miz, I can easily see Miz play a good babyface because in a way he represents us. He is a fan that became a part of who followed his dream to become a wrestler. It's just the thing is that everyone's always said Miz is the way he comes off. You want to punch him in the face, and I go, is that it? Because I've met so many people who I kind of want to wish violence onto, but then when I get to know them a little more, or when I get to see them on a different day, I'm like, oh, maybe I was wrong. It's all
Mm.
about how they're just portrayed, and I have seen Miz on two good, legitimate babyface runs. One just didn't pan out because they just didn't know what to do with him. The second one, they had him do this whole thing with Shane, and I'm like, it might work, but you could do more with it. Same I can say with a few other wrestlers who everyone says are better heels than faces. Like Charlotte can be a good face if you get the right momentum for her,
Mm-hmm.
and Bayley as well. I mean, if you remember Bayley in NXT, she was a great face, but she wasn't the cardboard baby face that Vince likes to portray wrestlers.
Exactly. So the
It's,
match
it's about the
ends.
dynamics. It's about the dimensions and character now that I think most bookers and maybe a lot of a lot of wrestling promoters need to pay attention to when it comes to portraying a wrestler as a face or a heel. But go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's cool. So the match ends in a very interesting way because if you notice when because Damage Control comes out, Bailey and Dakota Kai, but if you notice, like Dakota is kind of telling Bailey to stay in the back, and
Yeah.
Io didn't come out with Damage Control to begin with, so that kind of gets me wondering if maybe we're leading to an Io and Dakota face turn, which will then lead to Bailey either turning on both of them or them leaving Bailey and just kind of making Bailey a heel, but like turning Io and Dakota into faces
Well, I
down the
mean,
line.
the crack, they definitely did a point to show that the cracks are happening, especially in the build up to that match with when Bailey, I mean, even before then, before Io became the number one contender, it was all about Bailey has had so many opportunities at Bianca, and
Mhm.
Io and Dakota brought up legitimate points. You've had your shot multiple times. It is our turn. And you can see in some exchanges how Bailey is begrudging about that, to where yes, you guys make fair points, and you can see in the heel that she kind of wants to turn on them, but then at the same time realize she can't lose her backup. She can't lose the
Mhm.
group she formed a bond with. But you do see in Bailey that there is conflict in her, to where she wants to support Io, but then also at the same time she needs to reestablish herself as the leader. So her coming out, ignoring Dakota Kai, is more Bailey's like, don't tell me what to do.
I'm
I'm
the
gonna,
leader.
you're not just the leader, but I'm going to help Io. And you do see moments where she is helping, but then of course, ways how, like that moment when Io's going for her moonsault, you do see the ref notices her holding Bianca's hair down. In a normal match, and I mean a normal WWE match, that ref wouldn't have seen shit. But it's
No.
because in this situation, he happens to see her out of the corner of
Yeah,
his.
they have to make sure that the ref sees it just to add in, which I'm okay with because it
No, I'm
adds
fine with that
new.
too. But I'm like, if we've seen
Yeah.
so many damage control matches involving Bailey using certain methods to cheat, same with the others,
Mhm.
it's clear they always structure to where the ref is out of range.
Yeah, but like Bailey holds the hair of Bianca going for, or to allow Io to go for her moonsault. I love the little element of Io telling Bailey to stop. Like, because she looks down and sees Bailey and she says, "Stop! I got this," as in to say that slight moment that the ref caught Bailey cost Io the title because if Bailey hadn't done that, she would have had time to hit the moonsault and potentially beat Bianca for the title.
Yeah. Or in a way how Io will phrase it to more, if you had just listened to me and stayed back there, I would have done it myself. And then Bailey also brings up some good points, because even when she did pop up, they did provide a good distraction to where Io came very close.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely see to where it's not being completely one-sided. They're going to have both arguments, but because the crowd was mainly behind Io and seeing how that carries into maybe their last Raw tomorrow, it will determine whether or not they will follow through with it.
Exactly. So I think a really hot opener, a really great way to start off Backlash. But we move on to the next match, which I was kind of surprised at, which was Seth Rollins versus Omos. I think this is Omos's best match in WWE so far. And it only makes sense because he's in there with arguably the top wrestler in WWE, Seth Rollins, right now.
Yes, and I do remember hearing so much about, like, why is this happening between Seth Rollins and Omos. It's been clear that Omos has been, he's not being pushed to the moon, but they do have an eye for him to build him as their next giant. And then I think after him being just beaten like easily by Brock Lesnar,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you do need to bring someone that can build him as a credible threat again, and not have him just once again just bury squash jobbers. So
Yeah.
Seth, and also I mean with them being in Puerto Rico, they do need not only they did need one of their more reliable stars, and Seth was the perfect choice. And
Mm-hmm.
their exchange on the Raw before laying up the Backlash was a great example too, to where Rollins is like, "This is going to be your biggest test. You've not faced someone like me." And I do like, just like with, in a way, this match kind of was a little similar to Omos's match with Brock Lesnar, to where Omos, when he's dominating, both wrestlers are showing how dangerous he is. But of
Yeah.
course, obviously, with Seth Rollins, he's not a muscle. He's not some Viking build like Brock Lesnar is. So you do see Rollins has to be more innovative in order to take him down. And you do see, like, he has
Mm-hmm.
to attack his legs, or attack his arm, and then start using aerial assaults. And when aerial fails, he has to use trickery.
Yep. There are a lot of great sequences in this match that would only be done with Seth Rollins and Omos. And I mean that because Omos is so big. And I think the pedigree spot when Omos is on his knees is one of the most impressive things I've seen in a long time. Because Omos is on his knees and Rollins is going for a pedigree. And instead of walking his way up, Omos on his knees does a back body drop on Rollins. And I freaked out, man. That was so freaking cool. And then, of course, the ending with Rollins hitting not one, not two stomps, but a super top rope curb stomp to beat Omos was very unique, and I think really shows it protects Omos because Rollins had to go to that limit to beat him.
That is true. I mean, there's not more I can say about this. I mean, they played this match very straightforward down the road. They didn't have any chicanery or no little heel trickery that happened. Like, didn't see MVP get involved so much. So we do notice that they are trying to make Omos a legitimate threat. That he doesn't need to rely on MTV. He can be his mouthpiece, while Omos is the one, being
The
the champ,
fighter.
being the dominant, the giant. I was gonna say champ, but no, the giant.
Yeah, so definitely a very fun match. It actually went about 10 minutes, surprisingly. I do like how Omos is. He seems more athletic for a big guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's because I think we are seeing more of his athleticism because he's not limited to, and I'm going to be saying this a lot, Vince's booking. Because the way Vince likes to book his giants, he likes to book them as slow,
Slow.
moving mountains that have powerful attacks. But when we see wrestlers outside of Vince's reign of booking, they are incredible, like Walter
Mm-hmm.
or Gunther. I still don't like that name. When he was Walter in NXT UK, he was a heavy set dude, a tall guy, but he was still very agile. But then when he goes down to NXT 2.0, when it was under Vince and Bruce Pictures direction, he was more of a power body slam kind of guy who would have powerful strikes every now and then. But then
Yeah.
he's on the main roster with Trips, and guess what Trips does? He reforms him, gets him back to where he was in NXT UK, and now he's got one of the most dominant Intercontinental Championship reigns, one of the more well-deserved long title reigns, as I
Mm-hmm.
should say. And it's even the same with a few others, like even with Braun Strowman. Before he was gone, Braun showed so much personality, even when he was bogged down by Vince. And when he left, I will say, despite how bad Control Your Narrative was, he did at least stand out a little bit, especially when he was in some independent areas. Like he did stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And even same thing with Big Show as well. Before Big Show was going back and forth his weight fluctuation when he was giant in WCW, he was very, very athletic. To
Yeah.
where you could have seen someone like that be one of Vince's main dominant guys.
Mm-hmm. I actually like when Omos does the Undertaker spot, the snake eyes and the big boot, just because like again showing how athletic he is to hit those ropes with such speed and precision.
Yes.
He almost never misses with that, and he's not like we make fun of him, but I actually like him, the Great Khali, where he was kind of limited in his mobility. Like Omos is someone who has that athletic background of playing, college basketball, so he has the stamina to go a little bit longer in matches than most big guys can.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on to our next match for the United States Championship. Champion Austin Theory takes on Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. This was a great hoss fight.
Boss
It
fight
didn't,
that had Austin Theory in it.
yeah. Uh, this was probably one of the shorter matches on the card. It's 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Um, I like this three-way match aspect because now that Theory and Lashley are both on SmackDown, it gave you an idea of like, okay, either Theory or Lashley was going to win. I kind of knew that Bronson was going to take the pinfall because he's the only one that's on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but overall, man, I think this was a really great showing for Bronson Reed. He took the fight to both Theory and Lashley, and even though he took the pinfall, he still looked good in losing.
That is true. I didn't even realize how short that was until I had to replay it. I was kind of surprised. I mean, to be honest, there really wasn't
Mm,
going to be anything new added to this because we've seen Lashley and Bronson go head to head before, and we've seen how great they are. Lashley and Austin have gone back and forth so many times. Especially they did a even at Survivor Series they did a previous triple threat match between him, Rollins,
mm,
and those two with Rollins involved.
mm.
So clearly, this match was mainly meant to be like a water cooler moment before it builds to the next one. But even then, it still had enough great action moments. I liked how Theory he was playing the smart heel in this moment. Only
Mm,
attacked when he had to,
mhm.
and let those guys just run all over each other. So when the moment came, he would capitalize. That's the part of Theory I think they should be using more of him using his smarts because
Yeah,
we all recall last year during the Triple H transition, they were booking him to be a bit of a hothead who,
a dumbass.
in a way, yeah, hothead who made dumbass decisions.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like Austin Theory. I've always liked Theory. I just think he needs a better character. And I actually think if they went kind of '09 Randy Orton with Theory, where like, he's always 3 steps ahead of his opponents. Because that's what made like '09 Orton really cool was that like if you thought you had a plan, he was already a step ahead of that plan. And
I
it
think that's
made
what
him
they're trying to
intriguing.
do with him. I think they're trying to make him someone who is starting to think ahead more. It's still too early to tell if it's going to work out.
Yeah.
I just think right now, in theory, it seems to me that they are building him to be one of the more I'm not going to say dominant, but one of the more prominent U.S. champions.
Yeah.
And I think personally, to me, the best way to use Theory was during that time when Kevin Owens was like calling him out on his bullshit. I'm like, you could have had like a good solid 2-3 month feud between those guys.
Yeah.
And maybe, well, he's on SmackDown now. Never mind. I was gonna say have him feud with Gargano, but Gargano was on Raw.
Hmm. I
So,
actually think I think putting him over Cena was a good thing. I think
oh,
the
I knew it
build
was gonna go over Cena. There was
I
no way they
think
were
the
gonna have Cena
build
win that.
was what kind of hurt his character. Because when you had Cena call him out on like using piped in noise because nobody cares, I think that really hurt his momentum.
Well, Vince was doing that with a lot of wrestlers and promos. I mean, even now it's still being used. And I
Mm,
don't like that. I want them to really get rid of it because it's really hampering the point of having a live crowd there. I mean, no wonder I keep seeing so many live photos of people
mm,
showing, oh, it might look like there's people on that side, but then when you go back, you see that there's empty rows up there, or by the B side, there's half an arena empty.
mm.
It really just says to me that if you just take away that, because without the audio piped in crowd noise, the wrestlers can never really improve on their promo work if they can't get people to react to them. Same with their in ring
Mm.
ability.
Yeah, because they don't know what the crowd wants and what they don't want if you're just
Yeah,
piping in what you want to hear.
because that's exactly what some of the wrestlers are having issues with during the pandemic. To where when they were doing those empty arena matches
Mm,
before Thunderdome, wrestlers always kept saying if it affected their performance, it couldn't help them to when they wanted to build moments on when to ramp up the speed for the match and when to work on doing submission holds because it was all about selling to people that just weren't there. And even then, having audio noise is still not going to help. It's going to delay it a little bit because wrestlers, no matter how well they plan out a match, they still need to rely on moments to where the crowd's going to react.
hmm. All right, so we move on to our next match, which was actually a very evenly matched for a pretty majority of the match. For the
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown Women's Championship, champion Rhea Ripley defends against hometown girl Zelina Vega. I think, dude, the opening introductions
Mm-hmm.
when Zelina has the flag, and
Oh yes.
then they're doing the introductions, and then they zoom in on Zelina's face, and you see the emotion on her face. Like I think that is one of the it makes it more powerful moment, and you want to root for Zelina even more because you see how much it means to her to be there.
Yeah. And look, I know I'm most likely gonna be in the very small minority on this, but I think that should have had a match where an audible was called to where you had Zelina win the title. Yes,
Wow.
I know. Even when I said that, some people they're gonna be like, "What? That makes no sense." Look at Rhea; she's a dominant champion. I
Mhm.
mean, why would you want to take the belt off of her? Seeing that what we're about to get happen once the draft split when the brand split's about to officially happen, if we're gonna get a repeat of that title swap, I'd rather have Rhea lose the championship than have her swap it and then officially begin a reign as Raw Women's Champion. I didn't like that when they did that with Street Profits and Usos, and I didn't like
New
it when they
Day.
New Day, yeah, Street
New
Profits and
Day.
New Day, and it definitely shows how bad it was when they did with Becky and Charlotte. I rather would have had either Rhea or Bianca lose their championships, have them start back at ground one, and then rebuild them moving forward. I mean, hell, if you really wanted to, you could have had Zelina use some chicanery or some ways to outsmart Rhea to use her agility to throw off Rhea to where she could have won the title by an upset, not a definitive one, but by an upset.
That.
So then when Rhea begins on Raw,
Hmm.
not only is she not a champion, but you can build her in a bit as a monster heel to start running down competition. So when she does win that Raw Women's Championship, she can almost cut a vicious promo to where she's not going to let something like that happen again. I mean, I understand that I'm in a small minority. I know reality was never going to happen. But then looking at how that crowd was reacting to her, do you imagine how much of a feel good moment that would have been doing something like this in Puerto Rico to where a native born wins a championship in that hometown live
Hmm.
on streaming pay-per-view? That could have said so much more to where maybe at least opens the doors for WWE to have more opportunities to have shows in different countries. I mean, like I said, it is a very big. Well, I never said it, but this is a big leap. But I'm just going with sometimes when if you want to start reaching out more, and from what we've seen at Clash of the Castle and now in Backlash, these international crowds, they are hot for their homebred. They're hot for their homebred heroes. I'm just saying take more advantage of that, especially after when she lost. You saw how that crowd was just still cheering, clapping for her, really overwhelmed her with emotion. And I also understand to some people in the storytelling point, Zelina hasn't wrestled that much on WWE TV since she's been there. I get it. But last thing, if I recall, WWE doesn't always like to fall on logic all the time. I've seen upsets where, Hunter, are you there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Sorry, it looked like you were falling asleep when you leaned back there. I'm
Can you
like,
hear
am
me?
I boring you?
Oh no. I'm trying to like think about what you're saying and
Yeah,
kind of
but
like I'm kind of contemplating between two ideas here because on one hand I think Rhea should continue her dominant reign,
yes.
but I think the way they did this, I think Selena is gonna be fine. I'm glad that Rhea is retaining, but even in defeat, Zelina got that moment. She was in a championship match in her home country, and they gave her the opportunity after with Rhea left to soak in that crowd, applause and cheers and love and support that really she didn't really need the title at this point.
Yeah. You are right. I mean, like I said, I'm in the minority here. And I'm okay that she didn't win the championship. I was just trying to think in a more of a law and paint a broader picture. Her winning that title could have opened more doors than just, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
I'm also going off an emotional response to they're going to do another title swap again. But to me, it kind of feels like it could have been a way to really solidify this pay-per-view as something special, especially with the match with Bad Bunny and Priest that happened later in the night.
Yeah. Um I don't know. I think it was a good showing for Selena. I think if they wanted to do a title change here, they should have made it to where Zelina started getting more wins leading up to Backlash. That way she was on a roll, and then it made sense that she would outsmart Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you could have done the thing where, like, She outsmarted her, used her quickness, and also the crowd played a factor in it because this is a crowd that Rhea's not used to, and she's used to being loved by the crowd, and now she's being kind of, Zelina's getting all the love, so maybe that fucked with Rhea mentally, but they didn't do enough with Zelina going into Backlash to warrant a title change. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I mean, not much more I can say. It was still a very good, fun match. I did love how, with not only embracing with her going with the crowd reactions, I did love that with her mother at ringside just gives her a chancla just to throw at Rhea. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
she could have hit her a few times with that though.
yeah, she just threw it at her face. That was hilarious. All right. Speaking of Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, that match was up next. The San Juan Street Fight. Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. This is officially the longest match on the card at 25 minutes.
Yeah.
By the way, Bad Bunny's timing is incredible because when he comes out, he doesn't just go straight to the ring. He does almost like the Terry Funk thing where he's like, hold on a minute, and pulls out a fucking garbage, like a cart full of weapons and hauls it
Yes,
down
yeah.
to the ring. He's somebody who I think he's one of my favorite celebrity wrestlers, only because he's someone who gets not only the timing of it, but he's willing to give his body and a lot more to other people to make them look good all at the same time.
That is true.
Because he did not have to make Priest look this good, but he did.
I mean, you're right. He didn't have to, but it's clear that with Bad Bunny, he's willing to work. And seeing how like he and Priest showed good back and forth chemistry with each other, and that Priest really, even though he's also a fellow native, you really do see him also soak in being a heel. Like he can tell when
Mhm.
the crowd's on his side, he's like, I'm gonna punish it even more, especially when it was clear there were so many, and especially it says a lot to Priest's character, how he had the match won multiple times, but chose not
The
to
South of
finish the
Heaven
job
spot.
because, huh?
I said the South of Heaven he did on him would have been
Yes,
over.
yes. I was gonna get to that. Yeah, I was gonna say the South of Heaven or choke slam him through the announce table. It could have been ways of
Mhm.
him finishing off the match, but no, he did the heel thing to where he wants to do more punishment.
Yeah, this was a very, very good street fight because not only did they use the weapons and in the ring, they used around the ring, they used outside in the crowd. That fucking broken arrow through the tables
Oh my
and
god.
boards on the outside, dude. Bad Bunny did not need to take that spot.
No, but it was clear he did, and man,
It
that it
was
was
so
amazing.
good. And then, like, of course, Carlito making his return to a huge, massive pop in Puerto Rico. Again, makes so much sense knowing his family, the Colon family, big in Puerto Rico. And then you
Carly,
had Savio Vega,
including seeing Salvio Vega. Yes, Salvio Vega.
and then you had the LWO, and you had the Judgment Day. And dude, so much happened. But the match ends with Bad Bunny up, going back a little bit. Damian Priest goes for a spin kick on Bad Bunny on the outside, and he just fucking smacks the hell out of his leg on the turnbuckle post.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's when Bad Bunny starts using more ring psychology, targeting the leg. I love Priest's selling in this, where he's trying to beg Bad Bunny to step away and not go after the injured knee. He uses a chain on it. He uses a chair. A lot of things targeting the leg. And he finally stitches in a figure four leg lock, which, by the way, not a fucking bad figure four. It
Really
looked
good.
really good. It looked really fucking good.
Especially the way he was able to really,
The arch to back.
especially when he sets it up though. Like he sets it up by focusing on the hurt part of his leg before he bends the right leg to really
Mm-hmm.
like have that stretched
Yep.
out, and then Damian Priest selling that to really like go between of pain and then rage, trying to get out of that move.
Yeah. And then Priest counters it by getting him in a choke slam. hopping on one leg, but then like he can't power him up. Bad Bunny then starts hitting him with a chair repeatedly, and then hits the Bunny Destroyer for the victory. What a hell of a match!
I do even like how they took advantage of moments in the match. I was said when Balor and Dominic came out. Oh, sorry. And they set that little chair in the corner of the ring, and that was there for a
And you
while.
forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, they focused in a little bit, but then of course it was timed perfectly by having Carlito come out to aid, and then seeing the LWO and then having them being cornered by Savio Vega took so much away from that chair. So when it did pop up again,
You're like, oh, the chair's there.
Yes, it's like, oh, they didn't take it down.
Yeah, so like this should have been the main event. This was long enough. You had great pops. You had, a great like celebrity involvement. Go ahead.
Like you talk about double, like WWE was going like we have our double main event of Bunny, Priest, and then Cody and Brock. No, the double main event should have been the main the last match should have been Bunny and Priest, but then before that should have been Zelina and Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, going out with like people who are like a Puerto Rican descent, going on the last two matches.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That would have been perfect. But yeah, this was my favorite match tonight.
It really was a good match.
There was so much going on. All right, so let's move on to the 6-man tag match, the Bloodline, which is the Usos and Solo Sikoa taking on Matt Riddle, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens. I'll just say this right now. I'm getting sick of the KO Zayn Bloodline thing now. I think it should have ended right at Mania. Yeah.
Well, you're not wrong. I do agree with you there.
What more can you do?
But that's one of those situations to where I'm like, you know what? Whenever they like to say WrestleMania ends feuds, they need to follow through with that. But then, of course, because that they're undisputed champs and they're going back and forth on shows, it honestly is to where there's nothing that can be done about it. They're going to have to continue more with the Bloodline. I mean, they should have done more working in how they're coming apart instead of keep throwing Zayn and KO in it involved. Hunter, you there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. I don't know how far I'm coming in, but
okay.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. Well, everyone who's watching live, you know what happens. Technology's a bitch.
It is indeed. I think I'm clear again.
Okay.
But I was saying
Oh no, I was actually agreeing with you that the KO, Zayn, and Bloodline story, I mean, what the Usos said should have been done from the get-go. The moment they won those belts, have Zayn and KO move on, saying that they want to fight new teams out there, and then maybe occasion you'd have the Usos trying to squeeze their way back in. But I think after that second time they beat the Usos, it should have shifted the Usos to no longer be focusing on KO and Zayn and more of trying to get back in the good graces of Roman.
I actually thought what they should have done was after the Usos lost the second time on SmackDown during the draft, I think they should have had Roman in storyline, have Roman be like, I don't want them on my show. I want them on Raw. And they drafted the Usos over to Raw as a punishment.
Maybe before then, when the brand split was announced, we could have had Roman, either through Paul Heyman, tell to the Usos, "You disappointed the Tribal Chief," and at this point, he feels it's best if you guys are on a different show. Then that's where you can have the Usos really amp up to where, no, we want to prove our worth again. Have them once again challenge for those TNT championships. But then when they lose, it becomes even more to where they got to find other ways to prove themselves to Roman. To be like, oh, is someone bothering you, Roman? Someone trying to challenge you for your title? Maybe they can sneak attack somebody and think that they're trying to do something that Roman wants. But in actuality, it's more, no, you're not doing what I wanted. I didn't want to face this guy. And now, because of what you did, I am facing this.
I'm forced to face him, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the storyline of the dissension of the Bloodline going on.
Yes.
Because it's subtle. I just think you have to get KO and Zayn away from that storyline right now. I think it's over and done. It should have been done at Mania, and then you start weaving stuff inside the bloodline. Like you have Solo and you have the issue between Solo and the Usos, which I think was done really well in this match.
Yeah.
There's no reason that KO and Zayn had to be involved in this match.
No. And I also don't like how they were trying to tease a breakup between KO and Zayn. And I'm like, no, don't do that. You just spent the last 2 months as a team. Now all of a sudden you want to start teasing a break between the two of them? No, no. Have them be on the same page, but then have them have their disagreements every now and then, like they had with Matt Riddle, where Zayn, he understands Matt Riddle's little chill attitude to where KO can get a little frustrated with that. Like, don't use that as a way to split these two apart so then all of a sudden they drop the belts. What? They're back at each other's throats again? No, don't do that.
Yeah, that's the problem that WWE has, especially for a long time, was willingness to break up tag teams at a drop of a dime.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. You have a healthy tag team division right now because you've let teams develop.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little better. Now that there's more opportunities, this could have been a great time to where now that Zayn and Owens are like even though they're drafted to Raw, they can still go between both shows. They can now go. They could have made this announcement to the whole tag team division. We don't care now if you're on Raw or if you're on SmackDown. We are looking for a new competition. We want to be better champions than the Usos, and we're not going to hold this, and we're not going to make you guys jump through hoops like you had to do when they held the belts.
Yeah, I think the issue is the Bloodline storyline was so good when it had Zayn and KO in it that they're afraid to not continue the story without them. And after a while, the storyline just can't go any further.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to know.
It's one of those situations where everyone likes to say there are people who are better chasing the belts than those who have the belts. There's a half truth to that. There are some wrestlers that are good that you book them to chase the belt. The problem is that when you have that mindset behind a certain wrestler, so then the moment they have the belt, then creatively in your head, you don't know how to book them as champions.
Yeah, definitely. So it was an entertaining match. I'm kind of surprised that the Bloodline won here. I thought they were going to do it where, like,
because I wasn't
in this match. Jimmy super kicks Jay. I thought that was going to cause a rift and then kind of cause it to where Riddle, KO, and Zayn was going to win. Technical issues again. Now, but what happened is Solo just came in and pinned Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle could not get a win over Solo Sikoa.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why when it was a 6-man match, I'm like, is this going to be a moment where Matt Riddle can beat Sikoa but with help? But then at the same time, the fact that Sikoa is being eyed very well, I'm like, they're not going to have him lose at all. They're going to do, once again, have him be almost unstoppable to where they're going to have someone bigger to beat him. And as much as I love that idea, I would have liked it if someone actually took the pin here, to where this not only further cements the cracks in the bloodline, but then it's more like Solo, who's maybe they could have had Solo to where he's being hesitant to follow Roman because he has his loyalty to his brothers. But then at the same time, he's side by side with Roman. Roman has his eye on him. They could have did this whole thing where Solo is having some loyalty issues. So then if the Usos had cost him a match, not only cost him the match, but have him be pinned for the first time on television. For the first time.
Cody pinned him leading into Mania.
Sorry, yeah, that's right. But have Cody pinned the first time since like after Cody beat him, that could have been a way for Solo to realize Roman's right. I can't trust my brothers. I need to be more on his counsel. And then you slowly start building later on down on SmackDown to where Usos, not only they're not being allowed in locker rooms, not even Solo is no longer being like not talking to, he's not talking at all, but Solo's more of warm to them. He's being more cold and distant. So and finally, when you do have the Usos or Roman and
Mhm.
Solo turn on them, the Usos will not only be white hot, but you can build to where the Usos can may try to cost Roman the title. That will lead to maybe a tag match between Roman, Sokoa versus the Usos at a pay-per-view.
So I think what they're trying to do is set up Roman versus Jey Uso for the
I
belt,
yeah.
which is a great story. So what I would have done is I would have had Jay take the pin like he did at Mania. That way, leading into it, Roman could be like, there's one issue here. Every time the bloodline is in a match, who takes the fall? Jay.
Yeah.
It's not Jimmy. It's not Solo. It's always you that cost us a match. It's always you that I have to worry about because leading into Mania, didn't know where you lie. You know, are you friends with Zayn? Or are you not? Are you with me or are you not? You left at Rumble
Exactly.
and just have it to where Jay takes the pin, but in doing so, Roman becomes even more obsessed of like, well, why is it always you taking the pin? Why is it always you that's the weak link of this group? And then when he turns, he has Solo just take out Jay. Jay goes and becomes main event Jay Uso again, and his whole mission, without Zayn, without Owens, is to
Mm-hmm.
take out his family, and then that leads to Jay versus Roman for the title. That's how I would do it.
Like even then before when they were all teasing who should be the one to take those belts off of Roman, before what happened at WrestleMania with Cody, I was like Jay should. I didn't believe Jay should take the belts from him, but Jay was my second choice.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I believe Jay should have been the one to take away the title of Tribal Chief from him. So even if they don't see Jay Uso as someone to take the belt off of Roman, I do see Jay as someone to end the reign of terror or the reign of Roman
Mm-hmm.
as the Tribal Chief. Really, because for the longest time, I've been saying to a couple people, Roman, the moment Roman has on this winning streak, he no longer has that edge to his character. You have him lose the title, lose Tribal Chief, lose the respect, and then guess what? You can start building Roman not from scratch, but in a new direction again
And
to
at that
there.
point, Roman could become almost like the Mad King, where he had so much power and then it was taken away from him. By the way, that's a Game of Thrones reference for you guys who don't know. Um, Roman can become like the Mad King, where he loses all the power, and now people better be scared because you don't know what's going to happen. He's so unhinged right now because he doesn't know who to trust. And if Jay is the one to beat him, his own flesh and blood, that would be a great way to end the bloodline. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, then you created another main eventer in Jey Uso who can do this lone wolf thing. He can finally go by himself and not having to be tied with Roman and Jimmy and Solo. He's his own man that can step out of the bloodline circle.
Yeah. And I don't think, and I know there's gonna be some people out there that should believe that Jay should be a single star and leave Jimmy behind. I'm like, no, don't do that. Still keep the Usos together as a team, but more in the lineup. If Jay's gonna be more into the spotlight, maybe both of them can still go for tag titles, but then maybe Jay and Jimmy could run for some singles gold.
I actually wouldn't mind. Now, I don't want Jimmy to turn on Jay, but I would like if Jay beats Roman to then have a match with Jimmy because they've never fought one on one. I would love a Jimmy versus Jay match, and then now the roles are reversed. Going back to 2020, it was Jimmy who was protecting Jay. Now it's Jay trying to protect Jimmy, but in a way where Jimmy is so brainwashed by Roman that he's too far to be saved at this point.
Exactly.
So it kind of comes full circle around. All right, we talked a lot about this one match.
Yeah, I know, but it's all about the story implication there.
All right, and it's fine because this match had no story going into it. The main event: Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Literally to the point where the announcers and Cody were like, "I don't know why Brock attacked me." They never gave a reason.
this is one of the things that pissed me off when they did that on Raw. Because I said this to you that there was another good storyline opportunity for the distance before the brand split to keep Cody Rhodes from taking the belt from Roman maybe until like SummerSlam. But now with the brand split, we know that's never going to happen.
Well,
Maybe not never, maybe not never, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Unless Cody wins like some competition or some match to where he can challenge any belt he wants to, which
I mean, the Money in the Bank is still an
money.
option.
Yeah, but we don't know if Triple H is going to be like whoever wins Money in the Bank can challenge on either brands, or they can only challenge for the title. That's the thing. That's the thing that has me on edge here. After Triple H's little speech he said about the brand split,
By
and
the
now
way,
saying the tournament for the new world title, you really are like, even though you're trying to make things simple, it is ultimately raising so many more questions.
why are 6 SmackDown superstars going for a Raw belt?
It really defeats the point of the brand split again. Like, I mean, is this another Vince McMahon? He just threw some push behind there to get some 6 SmackDown wrestlers involved. Because if that's the case, then we know exactly which wrestlers are going to go over in this tournament. If it's a Raw versus SmackDown kind of thing.
Well, I mean, the one reason I don't like going off on a little tangent here, and we'll get to this match. I promise.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I definitely want to bring ourselves back down.
I don't like the fact that like it's obviously going to be a SmackDown versus Raw superstar at Night of Champions, and we know who's going to win already because Triple H has already said this is exclusively to Raw, so a Raw superstar has to win it. So it's like at that point, why you have enough talent on Raw to make a 12-man tournament, and you put in 6 from SmackDown when you know they can't win it.
Yeah.
So, sorry, back to Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar.
No, trust me, I have the same thing too, but I'm just staying quiet so I don't go into a rant.
Fair enough. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, which had no build at all. We have no reason why Brock, decided to turn on Cody. I think this match is going to lead, by the end of this match, I think this is going to lead to a series of matches, which I'm okay with because that means that Cody will be, I think Brock, because it was announced this morning that Cody is one of the competitors in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. I think Brock is going to cost Cody his match, and that's going to lead to a match going down at Night of Champions. Because that takes Cody off of that, the world title feud for right now. Because again, if he wins the belt, it feels like a consolation prize. You need someone who Roman hasn't lost to. So this way, you have another marquee match with Brock versus Cody, and you have fresh blood going for the world title all on the same night. That's my theory, at least.
No, it makes a lot more sense that you want some fresh blood in there so you can build some potential new challengers to this title. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't have the exact list of who's been drafted, but it does seem to me that the Raw has more talent than SmackDown. So clearly, something's wrong here to where you could have had these moments to where wrestlers could have did backstage interviews before a match and go, I was treated like this. Now I want everyone to see me in a new light. It's a fresh new start. Go out there, maybe put on a good 8, 12-minute match, see if the crowd gets behind you, and then we'll see where that goes from. But it doesn't seem that's going to happen now. I know someone's going to be like, 8 and 12 minutes? What's wrong with you? I'm like, well, Raw's a 3-hour show. We know they waste a lot on commercials and promo time. So the most we're going to get is maybe for a singles match is a good 10 to 12 minutes. But then you add commercials, it's 15. So, yeah.
And what sucks, though, is like, if they would have made this tournament like, Raw specific, you could have done a lot of great long matches that actually means something on Raw. So now it's 3 hours of like, okay, now, you have 2 big tournament matches that can each go 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Instead of, okay, a 10-minute match here and maybe a 12-minute match here. you give them more time to develop their characters and stuff. But this match itself, I have a feeling that Brock's gonna cost Cody in the tournament, and that's gonna lead to a match at Night of Champions, and then the rubber match at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
So that leaves,
the fact Night Champions happening in Saudi Arabia, we know there's going to be a Lesnar match.
yeah, and this is a good way for Lesnar to get his win back against Cody. It's not really going to hurt Cody, and then Cody can win the rubber match at SummerSlam on a grander stage.
Well, we'll see if Money in the Bank might become a factor in this as well.
Yeah. So this match went 9 minutes and 40 seconds. It was an okay match. I'm not gonna lie. It was the typical Brock spam match. I was so scared that they were gonna go Brock Lesnar, John Cena 2014 SummerSlam.
Or what? No, I did. I mean, I did think that. I thought, yeah, but I know you're right. I was thinking there was going to be a moment where Brock was just going to dominate Cody throughout the entire match, and it was clear from the reaction how it ended. Some people were not. Some people were a little surprised by it, especially in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, you need to have Cody present himself as a credible threat to Brock Lesnar. So yes, him winning the match may not feel right, but then also everyone's gonna be like, oh, Cody needs something as a consolation prize. I'm like, even if he does not win the World Heavyweight title, he's gonna be in a program against Brock Lesnar to give him the struggle that everyone thinks he needs to become a champion again. Which once again, I'm saying this in text messages and others. It's a dumb idea. If you really think Cody needs to struggle to be a champion, really, you have not been paying too much attention. You're not wrong. But then also looking at what Cody did when he came back to WWE, did he really need that struggle? Because Roman didn't struggle when he came back to win the Universal title, so that disqualifies that on principle alone. But beyond that, Cody does need something to bide his time to where he is not too much involved in another title opportunity. Giving him someone against Brock Lesnar to where Brock still hasn't given the reason why he attacked Cody, to where Brock's trying to become the beast again, showing his domination, and the fact that Brock is a free agent means he can go on either show. So you can have a moment to where Brock screws with Cody on a Raw, but then shows up on SmackDown knowing Cody can't touch him.
Mm-hmm.
We have that happen a couple more times. So finally, maybe like around June or early July, Cody finally has enough and go, you know what? I'm going to attack. I'm going to fight you on SmackDown. And they can do this whole little program throughout the night to where is Cody going to show up even though he's not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Like, to me, the ending of this match fell so flat. Because it was a roll-up. It was a sneak win. That's not what Cody should have done. What Cody should have done was, like, someone brought this up. I think it was Steven Larson. They said what this match should have been a template of was Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. Because that match started out Brock Lesnar dominating Daniel Bryan. What happens? Ref bump, low blow, and then Bryan takes over. What you do is you do that step, but you have Cody fight back harder. You have him hit the low blow, or hell, just do the exposed turnbuckle spot you were going to do anyway. You know, have Brock trip on it. Boom, he's bleeding. And then Cody sees his blood, fires up, and starts wailing on Brock. Brock backs up into the corner. You know, Cody cutter, and then 3 crossroads. 3 in a row. 1, 2, 3. What that does, it protects Brock because it took 4 crossroads to beat him. But Cody shows that fire that he's not going to get bullied by Brock. And he shows out, and he definitively beats Brock.
I honestly think that's going to be saved for. That's why I think they're going to. That's why I think now I believe with everyone it's going to be a multiple pay-per-view feud between these guys. This first one with him with the roll-up, this needed to show Cody that not only was he not afraid to take on Brock by having him attack him early on before the bell rang, but it's also for Cody to say, Brock, you can punish me as much as you want, but the moment you're caught off, I will take advantage of it. Shows him as opportunistic to where Brock realizes he's going to need to change his own style. Like when he bleeds, this is like the first time Brock bled in a while.
Dude, it was hard way too.
Yeah. So the way that happened is like it threw Brock off his game, and Cody took advantage of that. That's his first exchange. Now, of course, so many people are going to wonder where this leads to. That's why I think it's going to build to where Cody will do exactly what you said, Hunter. It might be a little bit like between him, like between Brock and Bryan, or like between Brock and AJ at Survivor Series, where AJ was using tactics like the calf crusher to neutralize Brock. We're gonna. It's. I hope this is gonna build to something to show Brock that. I mean, to show Brock is still a dangerous threat, but Cody is also just as dangerous.
Yeah, and if this does lead to more matches down the line, that's okay because now Brock has a reason to kind of continue this feud.
Yes.
I just hope they don't give Cody the world title because again, it just then feels like here you couldn't beat Roman, here's your prize.
I am more of the. I really don't think they are going to give him that title now.
I think you need to give it to someone who hasn't lost to this version of Roman, and it's going to be the obvious answer. Seth Rollins needs to be the first champion.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be mad if they gave it to Damian Priest, who's been announced for the tournament. Have him lead Judgment Day as the world champion.
I wouldn't be shocked if Balor gets it either.
Balor, yeah. I actually have a theory that the Night Champions main event is going to be Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor.
A recreation of the previous brand split.
Yeah, the 2016 rematch. Which then leads to either Rollins taking the title or you give it to Balor and he runs Judgment Day with Priest and Dominic holding the tag titles down the line.
Yeah.
Either way, I think they need to get the brand split right this time.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, then it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also with having different factions on different brands, I think we do need to set up to where we need to have a. I mean, the Bloodline was already dominating was already a dominant faction, but with the Judgment Day though, they've been there was a stop and start with them in the beginning, and now they're finding their groove. I mean, yes, Rhea wins the title. I think it would make sense if either Priest or Balor gets the title.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'm pretty sure Seth is going to win, just because it seems like they're going that direction. Makes sense. This is the one person that Roman could never beat in his career. Even this version of Roman, the Tribal Chief, got himself disqualified. So technically, Rollins still beat him at Royal Rumble. He just didn't win the title off of him.
Yeah.
So this is the way you can make the world title seem on par with the WWE Championship because it's held, or the Undisputed title, because it's held by someone Roman couldn't beat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you want to give Balor that run, you could have Rollins win the tournament and then have Balor and Rollins go into a feud leading into Money in the Bank or SummerSlam or whatever. And that could be your first world title feud.
Honestly, I do see that. I can see that.
All right, so that is WWE Backlash 2023. Overall, I think a really solid show. I'm going to give it a B+ in the rating scale. Ryan?
I'm in the B rating as well, but it's going to be a B-, actually.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I think for me, the San Juan Street Fight was just so fun. It gave that the B+ edge.
Yeah. No, Street Fight was good too, but there was also some matches that kind of did bring a little bit down. Bring the down a little bit.
All right, guys. So this has been our Backlash 2023 review. Ryan, where can we find you online?
Well, people can find me Twitter and Facebook. Twitter handles caramel_pain. My podcasts, Wrestling Ramblings and Rages, I co-host with James Shimo and Brenton McPherson. It's still on hiatus, but we are in the midst of. But mostly by the end of this month, we'll have maybe a couple episodes recorded, to where now they will be available on Spotify. I mean, they will be. We'll have brand new episodes. That's what I was trying to say. But until then, our previous Old At library is still available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. So go and check those out. You can leave a you can leave a rating. I know some platforms can leave a review on there. So if there's some things we can improve on, let us know. We're always trying to do something new, to change things up.
All right, guys. So go check out that podcast. And if you did like this, hit the like button, subscribe to the Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.